So as I pointed out, I've been recording. I've been like double recording Babylon Talmud on the like my normal mic, but also just like I have my phone on standby for a backup recording if I need it. And it's funny. I'm just like literally recording it just like on my phone like recorder. It must be using some like transcript tool or something. Last 2 recordings ago they named cow, and this past recording that I just did a few minutes ago from yesterday's stuff, they called vessel. I guess they were able to pull that information out of what I've been talking about. Not bad, actually. I did not name it those things. It was just paying attention to what was recorded and decided that cow and vessel would be appropriate. Makes sense. I wonder what they're going to call this one. Anywho, so let me tell you it's about. How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we stand Daf Lamed Ches, Daf 38. BavaMetzia. Friends. Let me tell you something about today's daf. I'm only going to record half of it, and I don't think I'm going to record. What I'm thinking to do is like stop, kind of about 5 lines in to Lamed Ches Amud Beis, and then for tomorrow for Lamed Tes, oh boy, we're going to do half of Lamed Ches and all of Lamed Tes and some of Mem. Dude, oh my god, tomorrow's daf is going to be so big. But I think that's what I'm going to do. Because it's kind of a new subject matter over there, I think. I mean, I haven't learned it yet, honestly, but that's probably the main reason why I'm doing it like that. But like instead of like kind of recording this daf in 2 goes, I think I'm just going to record this daf in 1 go, but end about halfway through. And tomorrow's going to be a daf and a half. And it's probably going to be ridiculously long if I had to guess. But now, about today's daf, it's awesome. I mean, it's BavaMetzia stuff, but it's great. It's really geschmack. I just finished recording yesterday's daf, which took a lot of koiches. This one's also going to take a lot of koiches. But, okay, let's see what I got. But it's going to be great. It's going to be really, really great. All right, here we go. Says the Mishnah, Mafkid, this is going to be great. Hamafkid Peris Eitzel Chavero, Afilu Ein Avudin, Lo Yiga Boin, Shimon Gamliel Omer Mochron, Bifnei Bezim Epnei, Shu Kameshiv Avedi Levailim. This is great stuff. Shimon deposits fruit by Reuven. Okay? Now, fruit, of course, is perishable. So, Mafkid Peris Eitzel Chavero, so Shimon deposits fruits with Reuven. Afilu Ein Avudin, even if they are going bad, even if the fruits are kind of spoiling, deteriorating, Lo Yiga Boen, Reuven shall not touch them. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says he could sell them before Bezdin because he's basically salvaging them. He's returning a lost out, right? The fruits are getting lost. They're going to deteriorate. They're going to rot. There's going to be nothing left. So therefore, Shimon Gamliel says, let Reuven sell it in front of Bezdin, and that way at least he can give Shimon the value. Otherwise, it's all going to get rotten. He's going to be able to give him nothing. So the Tanakama says, Reuven shall not touch it. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, he could sell them in order to salvage them. Says the Gemara by time, how come the Tanakama says, don't touch them? So we have Machlekes of Kahana and Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Omer of Kahana, this is Gevaldig, Adam Rotze bekav shelo mitishakavim shel chavero. Rav Kahana says it's because a person would prefer 1 kav of his own stuff that he worked for, that he earned, that is his, than 9 kav of somebody else's stuff that he didn't work for, that came from somebody else. Therefore, if Shimon deposits 9 kavs of fruit with Reuven, and it's deteriorating, I mean, as long as when Reuven gets back, he'll be able to wait, what? Sorry, 1 second, but no, I gotta rub my nose. Sorry, Mom. Shimon deposited, if Shimon deposits 9 kav, oh my God, you're driving me crazy. I think I need to get a new nose. Okay. So Shimon if Shimon deposits 9 kav of fruit with Ruvain, even if when Shimon comes to retrieve them, 8 of them have gone bad, and there's 1 kav left, but it's 1 kav of his fruit that he grew, that he picked, he'd prefer that over Ruvain selling them and giving him 9 kav of somebody else's fruit. So therefore, that's why the Tanna Kama says don't touch them. Ruvain would even if 8 of his 9 kavs go bad, Shimon would still prefer to have that that 1 kav that he himself earned. For Rav Nachman by Yitzchak, Amar Sarfa messed up Reuven and Shimon. Shimon's the depositor, Shimon's the owner of the fruits, Reuven is the custodian. Rav Nachman by Yitzchak, Rav Nachman by Yitzchak says that the reason why the Tanna Kama says that Reuven should not touch the fruits is because Chayshinon Shema Asoana Mafkid Trume Umaiser Al Mokum Acher. We're concerned that Shimon, the owner of the fruits, has made them into Trumas and Meisers. Maybe Shimon had some other fruits that were Tevel. And he says, alright, I have to separate Trumas and Meisers. You know what? I'm not going to separate it from this fruit. I have fruit that Reuven is watching for me. I'll make that fruit Trumas and Meisers, and I'll eat all of this fruit. So, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says that Reuven cannot sell the fruits out of a concern that what if Shimon had made them Trumas and Meisers, will be selling Trumas and Meisers, and whoever buys them will be eating Truma, and that's a problem. So that is why Reuven can't touch them, because we're concerned that maybe they're Truma. And you can't sell Truma to random people. Okay? Sorry if I'm messing up Reuven's and Shimon's and stuff. As I said, I just recorded my the previous daf. And my previous daf required a lot of koiches, and this daf requires a lot of koiches, and my brain is mush. But you know what we do at Babylon Talmud. When the brain is mush, we push. So pushing through the mush. Sometimes when you push through the mush, you mix up Reuven and Shimon. So my apologies in advance. I mean, it's a problem to mix up Reuven and Shimon, because how are you supposed to follow? But obviously, hopefully I won't mess up Reuven and Shimon. But just in case, be aware that this could happen. So we see this beautiful machlokes between Rav Kahana and Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Meisvei we have a kasha from a brisa that says, Hamafkid Peris Eitzel Chavero. So Shimon deposits fruits by Reuven. Hareze lo yiga boen. Reuven shall not touch them. And therefore, because Reuven shall not touch them, lefichach balabayis also osen trumo meiser al makom acher. And because Reuven is not going to touch them, Shimon can make them into truma and meiser. Right? Because if Reuven sells them, then Shimon cannot make them into trumas and meisers, because he doesn't. Right? They've been sold, and then that means that if Shimon is in some other place and he's got a bunch of fruits and he says, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to use the fruits that I have by Reuven as truma and meiser, and I'm going to eat these fruits." Well, if Reuven had already sold them, then he can't make them trumas and meisers anymore, and he's going to end up eating that fruit, but it's going to be tevel because the truma and meiser never work. So therefore, the brisa is saying that Reuven is not allowed to sell the fruits that Shimon has deposited with him. And because Reuven is not allowed to sell these fruits, Shimon can therefore use them for Trumas and Meisros, knowing that Reuven didn't sell them. Okay. So now, Bishlomo of Kahana, this is Gevaldig, according to Rav Kahana. Hanu dikatani lefichach. Meaning, the Mishnah is saying two separate things. The Brisa is saying two separate things. Thing number one is Reuven is not allowed to sell them for some reason. And thing number two is that because of the reason why Reuven is not allowed to sell them, Shimon can now separate them as Trumas and Meisros. So meaning it sounds like those are two separate things. That because of this reason, therefore Shimon knows that because of that reason, Reuven isn't selling the fruits, and therefore Shimon can use them for Trumas and Maasros, resting assured that they won't be sold. So now, according to Rav Kahana, what's the reason? Okay, the reason is Reuven can't sell them because that because of that reason, Reuven's not allowed to sell them, and therefore Shimon, knowing that Reuven isn't selling them because of this reason, Shimon can use them for Trumas and Maasros. But according to Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says that the reason why Reuven is not setting them aside, is not selling them, is because maybe Shimon made them into Trumas and Maasros. But no, that's backwards. The Brisa is saying that Shimon can separate them as Trumas and Maasros only because he knows that Reuven hasn't sold them. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak is assuming that Shimon has already separated them as Trumas and Maasros, and therefore Reuven can't sell them. But that's backwards. The whole point is that Shimon is only separating them as Trumas and Maasros because he knows that Reuven didn't sell them. Not that Reuven can't sell them because Shimon may have already made them Trumas and Maasros. It's a little bit technical, but you get it? Meaning, according to Rav Kahana, Reuven can't sell the fruits because of Rotza Adam, and therefore, because he's not selling it for that reason, that is why Shimon can separate Trumas and Maasros, because he knows that they haven't been sold. According to Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, Reuven can't sell them because maybe Shimon already separated them as Trumas and Maasros. But I thought it's the other way around. Shimon is only separating them as Trumas and Maasros because he knows that Reuven hasn't yet sold them. So Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, my lefichach, what's pshat with the lefichach? It's backwards. Hachi ka'amar, no, but you could still make it make sense. Hashta de amar rabbanon lo nizabed dechashinon. Look, once already the rabbis say that Reuven shall not sell the fruits out of concern that maybe Shimon has already separated them as Trumas and Maasros. So because we know that therefore Reuven won't be selling the fruits, well then certainly Shimon can separate them, use them for Trumas and Maasros, knowing, resting assured that Reuven hasn't sold them because Reuven won't sell them because he's concerned that maybe Shimon already separated them as Trumas and Maasros. So therefore Shimon knows that Reuven won't be selling them. So therefore he can make them Trumas and Maasros. Therefore Shimon can make them to Trumas and Maasros. Wow. Okay. Shtickle loop the loop over there, but okay. But both Rav Kahana and Rav Shimon and Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak seem to have survived that challenge from the Brisa. Okay. Wait, maybe let me go shtickle fight until I pause the video. Okay, fine. This stuff is so geschmack, but yeah, turn your brain shtickle mush. Okay, Omar Rabba Bar Chane, Omar Reb Yechanan. Says Rabba Bar Chane Reb Yechanan. Machloikes bichdei chesronon, aval yosem bichdei chesronon devrakol mochron bebezdin. Givaldig. So Rabbi Bar Chane says his name Rabbi Yochanan, that this machlokas between the Tanakama and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, the Tanakama says don't sell them, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says do sell them. This machlokas is only if they are rotting sort of in an expected way. Shimon obviously expects that he's leaving perishable items with Reuven. Of course he expects that when he comes back to get them, some of them will have gone bad. I mean, they're perishable. Right? That's just the way it goes. Right? There's an expectation that some of them are going to go bad. So when there's this machlokas, the Tanakhama says don't touch them. That's so long as they're spoiling in a kind of expected, at an expected rate, in an expected way. However, if their mom is just like just going downhill and they were just ridiculously spoiling, well then quickly sell them. Sell them while there's still something left. Everyone would, right? So according to Rabbi Yochanan, at that point, everybody would agree, sell them. So now here's the thing. This is definitely a problem for Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak. Because according to Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, who says that the reason why the Tanna Kama says don't sell them is because, well, what if Shimon made them Trumas and Maisvis? If Shimon made them Trumas and Maisvis, how can you sell them to somebody else? So I don't care how fast they're spoiling, you can't sell them to somebody else. So this is definitely going to be problematic for Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak's rationale. I don't care how fast they're deteriorating, you can't sell something that Shimon may have already made Trumas and Maisvis to somebody else. The question is this going to be a problem for Rav Kahana? Because on the one hand, Rav Kahana had said, meaning according to Rav Kahana, even if Shimon would have deposited 9 kavs of fruit with Ruvain and 8 of them rotted, and 8 out of 9 is certainly extremely significant, right? Certainly, Rabbi Yochanan would say that if 8 out of 9 kav of fruit are rotting, everyone would agree to sell it. And yet, Rav Kahana is saying, no, a person wants 1 kav of his own more so than 9 even of somebody else's, even if 8 of them rotted. If he has his 1, he's happy. So in that sense, it seems like Rav Kahana and Rabbi Yochanan would not agree. Alternatively, you could say that, look, it's just a phrase, right? Meaning, don't sell them because a person would rather have his own stuff. Now, of course, Rav Kahana would, meaning it's not saying literally like an equation 8 to 9. It's saying a person prefers what he worked for more so than somebody else's stuff. But within reason. Certainly, yeah, if it's rotting at a significant rate, certainly Rav Kahana would agree with Rabbi Yochanan that you should sell it. So according to Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, Rabbi Yochanan's position is definitely a problem, because I don't care how fast it's rotting, you can't sell something that could potentially be truma to somebody else. According to Rav Kahana, maybe you would agree with Rabbi Yochanan though, that if it's rotting at a significant rate, sell it. So again, from the beginning, the machlokes between the Tanna Kama and Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, where the Tanna Kama says, don't touch it, that's only so long as the produce is rotting, the fruits are rotting at a sort of expected rate. But if they are rotting too significantly, so then divrei akol mochrim bebezdin, everybody agrees, sell them. Everybody agrees, sell them in bezdin. Well, this is crazy. We're basically at 20 minutes already in the daf. I'm like 10 lines. Wow, this is ridiculous. I'm only doing half the daf today, and it's going to take a while. Can't imagine. And Amud Beis is like way bigger than Amud Aleph. Even if I would have done the whole daf today, it would probably be a huge daf. I have a feeling tomorrow is going to be humongous. It is very geschmack though. Ad Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak vadai pliga. Okay, so certainly, as I said, Rabbi Yochanan is going to be a problem for Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, because I don't care what rate it's rotting. If Shimon made them Trumas and Maisvis, you can't sell them to somebody else. But how do you know that it could be that Rav Kahana would agree with Rabbi Yochanan? That when Rav Kahana says that Tanna Kama would say not to touch them, that's only so long as they're rotting within sort of a normal rate. But didn't Rav Kahana say that even if 1 out of 9 kavs remains, Shimon would prefer that? And that is clearly something that would be considered extremely significant rottage that Rabbi Yochanan would say to sell, and it sounds like Rav Kahana would say to keep. Guzme ba'alma. No, Rav Kahana was sort of exaggerating. The point he was making is that a person would prefer his stuff over somebody else's, but he would also prefer his stuff. If there's going to be significant rottage, then he could potentially agree with Rabbi Yochanan that it should be sold. Meisve, now we have a kasha on Rabbi Yochanan. Now we have a kasha on Rabbi Yochanan. The fichach balabayis osa trume u'maiser al makom acher. Interesting. So according to Rabbi Yochanan is saying is that if it's rotting at a significant rate, so then sell it. But one second, we said that Shimon is allowed to make the fruits trumas and maisris, knowing that Reuven did not sell it. But if Rabbi Yochanan is saying that, well, if it's rotting at a significant rate, Reuven can sell it, so then how can Shimon be setting it aside as trumas and maisris? Maybe it was in fact sold. Maybe it was rotting, and therefore Reuven sold it. And that would be pretty bad, because then the trumas and maisros have not actually been separated, and Shimon would end up eating tefel. So again, that Shimon's allowed to use these fruits that he deposited with Reuven. He can use them as trumas and maisros, but v'leichush dilma havlu yosem ichdei chesronon. But how can Shimon use them as trumas and maisros? He should have to be concerned that maybe he doesn't know what's happening with the fruits. What if they're rotting at a significant rate, and therefore Reuven was forced to sell them, and therefore he can't actually be selling them as trumas and maisros? Vizabninu, and Reuven sold them. V'ka'achil tvalim. And Shimon therefore would think that he's eating tithed fruits because he separated them on the fruits that he has deposited with Reuven, but little to him, but unbeknownst to him, Reuven had sold them because they were rotting, and Shimon's now eating tevel. So answer the Gemara, look, it's not common that the fruit would rot significantly and that Reuven would be forced to sell it. And because it's not common, Shimon, it's not something that we're concerned about with Shimon. When we say that Shimon can use the fruits as trumas and maisros because Reuven isn't going to be selling them, he can assume that Reuven is not going to be selling them. It's pretty rare that it would be rotting at that rate that he would have to sell them, and therefore Reuven can go for it. Shimon can go for it. He can use them as trumas and maisros. The imishtakre my mizamninanu. And let's say it does happen that they rotted. Let's say it does happen that they rotted. And now Reuven's going to sell them because they're rotten. They're rotting too much. Reuven's going to sell them. Now we said that Shimon is allowed to make the produce, right? He's allowed to make the fruits trumas and maisros because Shimon can assume that they haven't rotted, and therefore he separate, right, and that they haven't been sold, therefore, and therefore Shimon can separate them as trumas and maisros. So now, shouldn't we have to be concerned that Shimon made them trumas and maisros, and therefore how can we sell them at that point, right? Meaning, we said that if they're rotting at a significant rate, then Reuven can sell them. But at the same time, we said that Shimon can make them trumas and maisros because he knows that Reuven won't be selling them. Well, in the event that Reuven does have to sell them, shouldn't we be concerned that Shimon made them trumas and maisros? How can he sell them? That was Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak's whole point. That the reason why I can't sell them is because maybe they're trumas and maisros. So in the event that they do rot significantly, and Reuven now wants to sell them, but what can he sell them? But shouldn't we now be concerned that maybe Shimon made them trumas and maisros? Yeah, that's correct. We do have to be concerned that maybe Shimon made them trumas and maisros. And therefore, you know who we're selling them to? Kohanim, people who are allowed to eat truma. And we sell it for the Kohanim rate, right? Because truma isn't in very high demand because most people can't eat it. so there isn't such a high demand for it, so it's not sold for very much money. Okay, fine. So in that case, yeah, when you sell, you dafka sell to people who can eat it. So frekti Gemara, wait. But if that's the case, then why don't we say the same thing by Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak? Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak's whole thing was that the reason why the Tanna Kama says that you can't sell the fruits is because maybe Shimon made them Trumas Amaisvis. Therefore, according to Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, that's why the Tanna Kama says you can't sell them at all. But why not sell them to Kohanim? Why can't you sell them to Kohanim? What's the problem with that? Why can't you sell them to Kohanim? That's the question. So beha plige. So look, here's the thing. There is a difference between Rabbi Bar Chana and Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak differ on a few things. They differ on how common is it that fruits will rot significantly, and how long does it take for fruits to rot significantly, and there are implications for Shimon separating Trumas and Maisvis, and so the way to understand Rabbi Bar Chana and Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, in order to understand them and their opinions, we also have to understand how they view this significant rotting and how long it takes and stuff like that. The Rabbi Bar Chana Savar, Rabbi Bar Chana, who says, well, Rabbi Bar Chana had already said, right, that rotting significantly is not common, and therefore Shimon can separate Trumas, use them as Trumas and Maisus, knowing, right, assuming that they haven't rotted. And in the event that they did rot, Ruvain can sell them to Kohanim and Levim, well, to Kohanim. So the Rabbi Bar Chana Savar Yosef Mitei Chasron lo Shchiach. First of all, it's not common for the fruit to rot significantly. Right? So where am I? So Yosef Mitei Chasron lo Shchiach midi. V'chi mishtekach lekam Yehuda Avya. Wait, what? V'chi mishtekach. And in the event that they do rot significantly, it will take a long time. So first of all, it's not common that the fruits would rot significantly. And even if they do, it wouldn't happen overnight. It would take a long time. And if Shimon is going to make them Trumas and Maisros, well, by the time that they got to the point of significant rot, Shimon would have already set them as Trumas and Maisros. By the time they rotted significantly, Shimon would have already made them into Trumas and Maisros. Therefore, when they rot significantly, so just sell them to a Kohen, to a Kohen, and there's really nothing to be concerned about. Shimon can separate use them for Trumas and Maisros because the chances of them rotting is slim, and they probably wouldn't have been sold, so he can separate Trumas and Maisros. Ruvain, in the event that they did rot, they would have taken a long time to rot, and therefore, by that time would have been Trumas and Maisros, and you just sell it to a Kohen, it's no problem. But according to Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, it is a problem. Because Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak savar Yosef Michtei Chasonin Mishkach Shchiach V'chi Avlu Le'alterhu Ta'avlu. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak's perspective on rotting fruits is the opposite. It's common. This is a common thing that fruits can rot at a significant rate. And not only that, when it happens quick. And therefore, V'i Omar Nizabninu, and if we say that if these fruits rot, and this can happen quickly, and that you could just sell them to Kohanim, well, Zimnin Dikodim Umizabin Luhu, well, we have to be concerned that maybe very quickly they'll rot, Ruvain will sell them, V'chi Avdu Balabayis Truma Umayso Makom Acher, and then if Shimon makes them trumas and maisris, well, that would be a problem. Lo yada dezabne v'kachel tvalim. He won't know that they've already been sold and he's going to be eating tevel. So therefore, for Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, the concern of Shimon eating tevel because he thought that he was separating trumas and maisris, but they've already been sold, is a real thing. Therefore, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, look, you can't sell these fruits because, even if they're rotting significantly, that can happen quickly and it can happen often. And if you sell them, then you can run into trouble with Shimon separating trumas and maisros and ending up eating tevel. Therefore, don't sell them. Rabbi Bar Chana says, look, it's not common for these fruits to rot, and when they do rot, it takes a long time for them to rot. By that time, Shimon would have already separated trumas and maisros. You can and at that point, you just sell them to a kohen, and there's no problems. But according to Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, it wouldn't work. Meisvei, we have a kasha. Hamafkid peiris eitzel chavero. If Shimon deposits fruits by Ruvain, v'erkivu, and they rotted, yain ve'echmitz, or wine, and it became vinegar. Shemen ve'vish, oil, and it went bad. Dvash ve'hidvish, the honey went bad. Harry said, Lo yigabayin different Meir. Meir says, don't touch them. The Chacham say, Osaloim takona, umochrin, you can fix them. The Gemara is going to explain fix what. Umochrin, and sell them. So Meir says, don't touch them. The Chacham say, sell them. Umochrin bebezin, you can sell them bebezin. Ukshu mochron, and when he sells them, mochron acherim, sell them to other people. Vena mochron atzmo, he shouldn't buy them himself because that people might ask questions why he's selling them to himself. Maybe there's some funny business going on. Kayotzebo, and similarly, kaboy tzedakah. If you have somebody in charge of distributing charity, if he's got a bunch of money, coins to distribute, but there's no poor people to distribute to, so portan la'acherim, so he basically trades in the smaller amounts for larger amount, right? Meaning like he trades in the pennies for dollars, because the pennies are going to they're going to start getting all rusty and stuff and no good. So therefore he kind of consolidates. Vein portin la'atzman, but he shouldn't consolidate with himself because again, people might be suspicious. Also when it comes to food, right? They would collect food to distribute to poor people, if there were no poor people to distribute to. So so they sell to other people, he shouldn't sell to himself. Katoni mias pears v'irkivu. So, but we mentioned at the beginning of the brisa that when it comes to fruits that got spoiled, we see that there's a machlokas between Rav Meir and the Tanakama. Rav Meir says don't touch them. Tanakama says sell them. My love, afilu yosim ichdei chesunan, even if they are significantly spoiled, Rav Meir is still saying don't touch them. Lo b'ichdei chesunan. No, it's talking about when they're significantly. No, I'm sorry. It's talking about when they are sort of regularly, spoiling at an expected rate. That's when Rav Meir says don't touch them. What do you mean? But it says wine that turned to vinegar. Oil that got, that turned, whatever oil turns into when it goes bad. Whatever, and same thing for honey. That sounds like it's pretty significant. Shiny honey, yeah, but it's different. These things are different because caving to come. Look, when it comes to, these things, the oil that goes bad, once it's gone bad, it's not getting any worse. It's bad, right? Whereas these other fruits, they can keep on getting worse and worse and worse. Okay, fine. So in these, okay, fine. So that makes it different than like the other case of fruits. Shemen vivish dvash vehidvish lemay chazu. Okay, fine. So the Chacham said to sell them. Who's going to buy these things that are spoiled? So shemen chazu l'godai, well, spoiled oil could be used for leather workers. Dvash l'chtisha de gamle, and oil and turned honey can be used to put on like camel's sores. Chacham say you fix with them and sell them in bezin. What are you fixing with these things? You're fixing the vessels that they're in, right? Because these things, after being, right, these, oils and things, after they're ruined, they're also going to ruin the vessel that's storing them. So basically save the vessels by selling the contents. But Makam, if you forget what's the machlokes between Reb Meir says don't sell them and Chacham say do sell them. To my server leefsid muba chashishu, leefsid muad lo chashishu. That the Reb Meir says, look, we're concerned for like significant. We're concerned about like significant for significant loss, but like the loss of like the container, we're not so concerned about. Myself, whereas the Chacham say, no, we are concerned even about smaller amounts of loss, like even the container, and therefore you should sell it. Okay, Chavra, I'm gonna stop here. This was already I think 35 minutes or so. Just on the first Amud. My brain is definitely mush. I also haven't done the rest yet. It's about to be Shabbos, so But today's daf was super cool, right? Shimon leaves fruits by Ruvain. Machlokes Tanakama, Shimon Gamliel. Tanakama says don't touch them. Shimon Gamliel says you could sell them in Bezdin. We saw the machlokes between Rav Kahana and Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak. About Rav Kahana says that it's because a person would prefer even one kav of his own stuff than 9 kav of somebody else's stuff. That's why Tanakama says don't touch it. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says it's because maybe Shimon made it into Trumas and Maisris, and we have to be concerned about the implications of that. Mostly that if we sell it, then Shimon might think that he's separating Trumas and Maisris, but he actually isn't, and he's eating Tevel. There's the bell for Shabbos, so I really can't move forward even if I want to. And Rabbi Yochanan had said that the machlokas is davka when things are sort of deteriorating at an expected rate, but if they are deteriorating at a more significant rate, then everybody would agree just sell them. All right, peace out.